Hello, so I've been wanting to go off-roading for quite some time. I've gone as a passenger princess, never actually drove my own vehicle, and finally I have just the thing. This is the thing. Believe it or not, yes, I'm not going to be off-roading the Land Cruiser because I want to keep that thing clean for whenever I sell it. However, this Touareg is actually in my name. It is actually a car that my dealership owns as a hauler, and I sort of kind of am supposed to daily drive it. However, I've been busy swapping an engine on it for the last 5 months. There is a lot of information about the engine swap on my other videos, so if you want to learn more, please subscribe, please check out the other videos. However, this weekend, if everything goes well, I'm going to be taking this thing off-roading. So here's the thing. The engine swap that I mentioned is not completely done yet. So I had just finished putting the engine in, and at this moment, I still don't know if it runs yet because we have a bad crank position sensor. This is sort of an overlap with my last week's video because hopefully I'm taping this assuming that I'm gonna be able to throw a new crank position sensor in and be done with it, and hopefully the car will run. But currently at this moment I haven't gotten that yet, and hopefully that's getting here tomorrow and I'll be able to install that and the car will be run and drive. However, I can't guarantee that, but I'm assuming that that's exactly what's going to happen. Because a few days from now, a few of my friends are going up north to Michigan into the Upper Peninsula, and we're going to be off-roading. And they're bringing their rigs, and I'm hoping to bring this guy, which is clearly not ready to be off-roaded yet. So let's skip over to that. So this here is a set of wheels that I bought that originally came off of a Toyota Tundra, and they came with these KO2 BFGs, which is pretty much a legendary off-road tire. I'm hoping to take these off and throw these on one of my extra sets of Touareg wheels. To add to brand new things in my shop are these two machines. By new, I mean they're extremely old, but I just gotten them for $350 combined. However, they're so old that they are not meant to be used on anything over 17 inches in diameter in terms of rim size, which is why I'm chopping this off. So a quick little recap, I have never, ever used one of these machines before, and this is gonna be my first time, and I probably should not be cutting this thing up already, but I have no other choice because this wheel, it's just, I cannot get the thing centered to the point that little clamps that go here can reach the tire, and yeah, we have no choice but to cut it. And as barbaric as this seems, the previous owner of these machines actually told me that this is a pretty common thing to do for people because obviously nowadays so many people have 18 and 19-inch wheels that things that can't do them are basically useless. So this thing goes in here, and previously it wasn't able to slide back far enough to be able to get on the tire on the rim that's bigger than 17 inches. It looks like I'm actually gonna have to cut this as well. I might also have to drill another one of these holes to accommodate for this, but we're gonna do that later. So in this video, besides chopping off very expensive pieces of equipment, I'm also going to be modifying this car to be able to off-road. If you're looking at the ground clearance on this thing and are wondering how the hell am I going to do that, don't worry about it. This car does have air suspension, which is operable, and I can probably gain another 3 inches of lift on this car with just a simple push of a button. Well, it's more of a knob, but it's fine. Besides upgrading the tires on this car, I'm also going to be doing some underbody protection, and that's assuming that I can figure out a way to do that with the materials I'm planning to use. So right here is an Audi Q7 hood that is very slightly damaged and also a bit scratched up, which we don't really care about. If that doesn't work, I also have this, which I promise you, I swear to you, I did not steal. This thing actually was in my old house that I was renting, and I guess one of the previous tenants might have stolen it, or maybe they got it in a legitimate way, but it was sitting in the attic where I dug it out, and it was just a piece of decoration for a little while, and I was putting all my stickers on it. However, now I think we might repurpose this into underbody protection. On top of all that, I also have that all-road rear door, which I have no use for because it started rusting, and I replaced it with another one. So we can probably cut that up too and use it for like our fuel tank or something. However, it's a lot of plans. It's a lot of very ambitious plans with a very small amount of time for me to execute them. So I gotta keep going. It's just taking a long time. Okay, so the bottom definitely debeaded, however the top isn't, so I wonder if I'm supposed to flip this over. However, I don't, something I just realized is that I don't know how to release the pressure and have it come back up. Because I do have this handle here, but that only brings it down, not up. This guy here has something to do with that pin down there. I feel like this handle is supposed to be able to do that, but maybe it's just broken. Okay, well, I have some good news and I have some bad news. I did manage to get this thing to start and even drove it. However, unfortunately, it was not drivable enough to the point that I was willing to drive it 4 hours away and then put it through some off-roading tests. Not to mention the fact that I didn't even manage to figure out how to dismount a tire off the wheel and fully mount them on the new wheels. I just simply did not have the time, so I apologize. I couldn't make it, but I promise one of these days this thing is definitely going to hit some trails and you guys are going to be a part of that. So what went wrong? It's definitely something I messed up. There's nobody else I can blame for this. And the problem is basically the fact that, as you can see, our wheels are currently perfectly straight. The steering wheel, however, as you can see, is 90 degrees off. And obviously, yes, the car definitely does need a wheel alignment after taking off the subframe. However, that is not the reason why this is messed up. The reason why this is messed up is because I must have somehow misaligned the rod that goes from our steering rack to the steering column. And I guess I must have spun the steering rack 90 degrees while the steering column was, you know, left at this straight position. And when I reconnected this, it was off by 90 degrees. So now I have to come up with a way to align that back together, because even though I think there's ways around this, like I could take off the steering wheel and just align it 90 degrees, that none of that is going to be the appropriate fix. And I think if I were to do that, something would always be off in the car, and we just don't want that. This does need to be aligned properly, and the way I did it is just not gonna work. So if you didn't happen to watch the last video and you're not sure what I'm talking about, here's our steering rack, and right above it is the shaft that comes out of this into the steering column and connects to our steering wheel. When you drop the subframe, which is what I was doing to replace my motor, the steering rack comes out with it, and there's a little union point that behind this heat shield, there's just a couple of 10mm bolts holding this on. Comes right off, and you can see right in there, this is our linkage. So I believe there is a bolt in the back over here that you can remove and disassemble this, which is actually what I started doing before I realized that up there, the shaft here, the steering rod, it just slides out of its housing. So there is no fasteners. When you drop the subframe, it simply just slides out and disconnects. However, it's not asymmetric, so it's very possible to rotate it just 90 degrees, not notice it, and slide it in, and it'll go in without any issues, which is exactly what happened to me. Here's a look from the back of the car. You can once again see this bolt that we can undo and slide this off. But here you go, this just slides out, and now that's disconnected. It's supposed to go by itself, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so here we can see our now turned steering rack, and I wonder if this will just slide in this way. No, it looks like it is not symmetric, so now I have to just pull this out from the steering column, just like I did when I dropped the subframe. Hopefully we have enough clearance here. Come on, keep going. Keep going. Okay, and now I know that the correct alignment has the bolt head facing out towards the driver wheel, so I'm just going to rotate it 90 degrees and insert it right back in. There we go. Goes right in as far as it'll go, and hopefully that gives us enough clearance to line this back up. Oh, there we go. I think I got it. Nice. Yes. Okay. Awesome. I guess we just had to give it enough force and then it goes in. Perfect. So I think we're back to good alignment. Well, more or less good. We're still going to have to get an actual wheel alignment, but because my camber is probably super out of whack since I had the subframe out. But we just throw this bolt in, throw on our heat shield, and should be good to go. Luckily, this wasn't as hard to fix as I was afraid it was going to be, because I definitely considered that there's a possibility that I would have to fully remove the subframe again, and boy oh boy, I did not want to do that. Now that that huge weight is off my shoulders, we gotta work on our exhaust, because currently we only have our kitted down pipes and nothing behind that. This is the stock exhaust that I could technically have just thrown in, but my parts card came with this resonator delete. Lines up like this. Problem is that I kind of like the idea of just deleting the muffler too and have the car be quite loud. But then I don't have the piping to finish the exhaust over there. I did sort of kind of mismatch a bunch of hardware and stuff that I had, but as long as it's functional, right? If you're wondering why was I grinding my tools up, it's because in order to get to the front diff, because of this bracket here, the engine bracket, the fill plug is very hard to access with any of my tools. So I ended up making this, which hopefully will allow me to loosen this. In theory, anyway. So I'm just gonna stick that into the fill plug. It is a 8mm Allen bolt, by the way. And then I'm just gonna use an 8mm box end wrench. There we go. Oh yeah, that properly done. There we go, nice. Actually, before I get this thing out of the shop, we are going to install these T2 Touareg taillights. If you don't know the terminology, T2 is the second generation of the Touaregs, which it basically was pretty much a facelift. A lot of components stay the same, but they did come with these dark, I don't know, I guess you could say tinted, even though they're not tinted, just the housing is darker, taillights, which I think look significantly better. There it is, nice. All right. Looks like all of our taillights work. Looks like I do have one of the license plate lights that do not work, which I don't really care about. And with the lights turned off, they look like this, which I think looks very, very nice. So for some reason I have this feeling that I'm not supposed to be doing this. Like, I'm afraid that I'm gonna get pulled over even though I'm doing absolutely nothing illegal. This car is registered and insured, and has been this whole time that I've been working on it. We do still have our traction control light for the steering angle sensor. Hopefully that's gonna reset after a tiny bit of driving. That usually doesn't take too long. And we do have a check engine light, which is for our camshaft sensor, as well as I picked up 2 codes for system to lean on both banks. So the oxygen sensors are reading incorrect fuel mixture and are saying that we're running lean. It just feels slow. It feels slower than it used to be. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, no, there's definitely a limp mode. I don't know, it just feels so slow. But all of our temps are good, our voltage is good. And now that I'm driving this, I remember this another thing that I think is a pretty uncommon issue on it. Like, I haven't faced this before, but my cluster stopped being able to make sounds. So if you hadn't noticed, when I turn my turn signal on, like, there's no clicking going on. And also if I have any warnings on the dash, like, there's no chime that it normally is supposed to make. Motor sounds very well. However, at idle, it's a little rough. Flooring it, super slow. Oh gosh, oh, that got jumpy. That got real jumpy, real bad. Okay, interesting. Hopefully this little drive is gonna give me some answers. Maybe we'll get some more codes. Because a lot of codes take some time to activate. Sometimes you have to drive a car for like anywhere up to like 20 minutes in order for them to show up. Alright, flooring it again. Oh, it's just doing so bad. Maybe it's gear shifts that. Maybe it's just not shifting good. Potentially we have an issue with our trans. Yeah, second to third is rough. Under load. And third to fourth is rough under load. Yeah, it definitely felt like the trans was slipping. We might have a transmission issue. We did get 2 more codes, and both of them for mass airflow sensors, which is very odd to me. These are the sensors that were in this car previously, as far as I remember. Maybe they came out of the parts car. When I look at the transmission codes, it just tells me to go read the ECU codes. So I wonder if the bad mass airflow situation can have something to do with how our transmission shifts. I mean, I guess it's possible. These cars are pretty complicated, a lot of things talking to each other, so maybe if the ECU can't rev up properly, the transmission won't be able to shift properly. That's the only thing I can think of. So let's swap those MAF sensors and see if anything is going to be different. This is by far the smallest amount of tools I've brought to a junkyard before. Let's go and find ourselves a V8 Touareg. Chances are we might get caught in that big ass storm. Apologies for the wind, but it looks like we're in the right area. There we go. Do you have what we're looking for? Okay, so somebody got to the MAF sensors before me. Okay, there is a V6 one, there's a Tech one, and there's a V8 one down there somewhere. It better be in there. If I came out here for nothing, I'll be so pissed. Like, you have no idea how little motivation I have right now to be doing this. And here we go, we do have one sensor, but that might be it. And I also don't know how good of a condition it's in. Obviously this has been sitting out for a while too. However, we do have this 4.2 Phaeton here, and I'm not positive, but there's a solid chance that this is the exact same sensor. 461G. 461G, they might be the same. Seen this before. I don't know how this works, but that is very, very cool. Just take a second to appreciate how freaking cool these Phaetons are. I mean, we got ventilated and heated seats in the rear. I wouldn't have picked this color, but honestly, it's still not bad. And there's Q7 Stig-1 Touaregs Phaetons. I have never seen a Cayenne out here, and that makes me sad. I kind of want to dig around them a little bit. This guy here is actually the one who donated me the T2 taillights. All right, let's see what this thing thinks about Phaeton MAF sensors. All right, let's hop on in, erase our codes, and see if anything's different. All right, so clear faults, start. Camshaft position sensor circuit came right back, whatever. And honestly, the idle feels pretty good right now. After even idling just for a few minutes, the idle went back to being a little shaky. So I don't think we found our issue. And I think I was right in assuming that it was not our mass airflow sensors, and it's got to be something else. No idea what. Outside of that, I mean, the motor sounds very, very well. Okay, so even though in the last clip, after changing those MAF sensors, I thought that that didn't fix our issue. However, I, for the first time today, decided to drive it around after replacing those MAF sensors, and the issue has not come back. We do not have those rough shifts. We have significantly more power, and everything seems to be, almost everything seems to be working as it should. So I still have a slightly rough idle, as you can hopefully try and see by this bottle moving around, but it's like very, very minimal. I can tell that there's a slight issue, but it's nothing major, and the car is totally drivable. At least so it seems at the moment. And there's a couple of different reasons for that. We currently do have two codes. A new code popped up for secondary air injection system. On bank 1, apparently there's not enough flow. A secondary air injection system would definitely give us a weird idle, and I think that might be all we're dealing with. We also have a camshaft position sensor. I have not managed to get rid of that. I don't know what that is caused by. I swapped it with one sensor. I mean, I could do it again and maybe that'll fix it, maybe not. Honestly, no idea. But in reality, it doesn't matter a ton. But I did find a slight vacuum leak. And that's actually what might be causing our secondary air injection code. There, you guys see that little hose over here? There's a plastic hose somewhere back there that is supposed to connect to that, and it broke off. As you can see, there's still a little piece of it inside of this tube, but the rest of it leads somewhere to the back of the motor, and looks like that just broke off and is causing a vacuum leak. That potentially might have something to do with our secondary injection system. I'm not positive, but maybe if we fix that, that'll go away. But so far the car seems to be perfectly drivable. I actually floored it like all the way, and it did pretty good. It did better than I expected it to, and I generally think that got rid of the majority of our engine issues. Somehow, some way, those MAF sensors seem to have been the issue. I think it might have been just the fact that they got dirty from sitting around for a few months in a box. In the shop where I've done a decent amount of grinding and welding and whatnot, so I guess somehow they got contaminated, and I probably could have just fixed them by spraying them with MAF cleaner, but figured I might as well buy those two new ones, well, more or less new, from a Volkswagen Phaeton, for which I only paid $42, which I think is very reasonable, more or less. I don't know. I think for a junker that's definitely more expensive than it should be, but whatever. I think this car is more or less complete. The little issues that are left on it, I can work out off camera, and they shouldn't be too bad. If there is any major updates with this car, I will let you know. And yes, I know I did sort of kind of fail to do the off-road modifications to this car that I was planning to do, but you know, we just ran into things that needed to be taken care of first, and I still have not figured out how to work this machine, which is very unfortunate, but I simply just have not done enough research, and I also just don't know about the state of this machine. Maybe there is something that's just not working on it, and I'm going to look into it once I have some free time, but we currently have some other priorities we got to take care of first. So thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, please like and subscribe as always, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.